Okay, so we are live now. So, hello everyone. Welcome to what is now, I think, the fifth day of the Writers Block Party. I am very happy to be joined today by Areeba Siddique, who you all know as from her handle O Areeba,
Oh,
and she
Areeba.
is O Areeba, and she is a poet. She has a fantastic journal that she keeps sharing with us and sharing her aesthetic with us on Instagram, and she's also currently studying at IVS, I believe, in this valley. And yeah, today we're talk to her about poetry, journaling, and her journey on Instagram. So, Ariba, we had someone on the other day to talk about her poetry. We had Mariam Saeed on, and I wanted to ask you a similar question. Okay, just walk us through your poetry. What is it you? What are the themes you like to cover, and what are the general things you like to talk about for someone who doesn't know your work as well?
I feel like I can only write when I'm super duper angry on
Hmm.
someone or on something. So the act of writing is an act of revenge on a lot of people and sometimes on my own self as well. So it's such a sad thing that I cannot write about someone or something that I truly love. I mean, something has to truly hurt me to make me write. So yeah, I'm sad about this because I cannot write poems about my friends or people I truly love. And I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna write about things that this is something that fuels my writing spirit. But also, when I read about other poets like Agha Shahid Ali, and he talks about loneliness, and then he talks about Kashmir, and he talks about leaving people behind and being a poet, it also inspires me to write because these are the topics that I like to touch with my writing as well.
That's great, and I'm really glad you mentioned Shahid Ali. I think he's a fantastic poet. उनके भी काम कभी कभार, like, you read it just like and I feel like आजकल, like, with Instagram, he's gotten sort of like a second wave of fans because अब काफी लोग are being reintroduced to his work. So I'm glad that that's happening for him. I also wanted to ask, you were one of the first people who, at least I saw, that were presenting poetry and art in a very different way, that is through your journaling and through your art. So I want to ask you about that. Where did that idea come from? I mean, I'm pretty sure you had your journal before you had Instagram, right? So where did that idea come? I should put my journal or certain pages of my journal up on the internet.
It happened in 2014. I remember the exact post. It was about Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. I loved the book, and I just wanted to write things down in my journal. And I drew a little illustration of the girl Amy, and then I made a little flag of America, and I wrote some quotes from the book. And I was like, okay, it looks good. I mean, it's Instagram worthy. I should take a picture and post it on the Instagram. I did, and people actually loved it, and everyone was like, okay, make more of these, maybe based on some other book. So it kind of started as a book project, but then it turned into my feelings and then my poetry later on.
Great. Yeah, that's a great book to start with. I think Gone Girl is one of those really, like, it messes with your mind sort of
So
book, and
dark and twisted.
yeah. But then also, since you started posting, you've obviously seen a massive growth in your own followership and generally with Instagram. How has that experience been? How have you changed as someone who writes poetry, and how has maybe your journaling changed as well as you've been on Instagram longer and longer?
I feel like it started as a very casual project with me putting literally everything in my journal. I mean, all of my trash would go in my journal, all the receipts would go in my journal. But later on, uh, when it became a little serious, I started putting more sensible stuff in my journal. And when I still have the trashy journal and I still do the trash journaling, but it's not for public anymore. For my Instagram, I try to make a little more refined art even when it comes to my art journal. And now that I know people are hoping to see good stuff, so I feel like I really can't make mistakes with my journal. So it maybe takes away a little bit of the spirit away of art journaling, But yeah, you do what you have to do.
Absolutely. And that is going to be my next question, Kay. With all of this Instagram pressure, do you feel like you always have to put your best work out there, or do you ever feel कि हाँ ये इतना अच्छा नहीं था?
होता है, बहुत होता है, because मुझे फिर डर लगता है कि what if they judge me and they go like, she goes to an art school and she doesn't even know how to draw properly. All these confusions, they kind of scare you.
Mhm.
और मुझे ना थोड़ा शौक भी था कि I want to look like a proper artist and have all the proper stationery items that a proper artist has. So it's a lot of pressure, but फिर वो 2-3 साल बाद जाके ना थोड़ा आसान हो जाता है. Like maybe it's not that big of a deal. Maybe if I don't draw, perfect acrylic paintings, so it's not such a big deal. So
Mm.
you kind of learn to live with it.
Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. Um, when it comes to like when it comes to your poetry, do you feel like what are things like you said, like जब आपको गुस्सा आता है, when you feel really angry, that's when you write, and inspiration comes in really strange ways sometimes. So how are you? But anger is such a strong emotion. I know if I write angrily, I write like a crazy person. How are you able to channel that emotion or any emotion for that matter? Okay, but that's something I struggle with. I'm sure other people struggle with as well. Okay, when you have an emotion as strong as anger, how do you channel it and make sure that you're writing something that's actually true to what you feel?
I try to use some really dark words or strong words. Like I love using the word shark or a knife or
Mm-hmm.
throat or things like. I learned this from Jenny Holzer because she uses very intense vocabulary in her essays. And I remember I wrote this poem, and it was about, if you don't let me be a daughter, I will be a knife on your throat or neck, something like that. So my amma read it and she like, Beta, are you that upset with me? And I was like, no, but I was really, really angry in that moment. So I tried to use the harshest word I could possibly find.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all about the choice of the words.
Yeah, definitely. And also, it comes to poetry because अक्सर तो we think of poetry as short form, so you really have to get that impact in there before something really finishes.
वो हमारा शुरू से लेके एंड तक जाने का टाइम नहीं होता इतना लंबा वर्डिक्ट देने का, तो वो जल्दी जल्दी 2-3 लाइंस के अंदर यू हैव टू मेक श्योर दैट यू आर अटैकिंग ऑन द राइट स्पॉट यूजिंग द राइट वर्ड.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's really funny that you mentioned your mom reading a piece. I feel like a lot of people in Pakistan have this concern that, oh, if my parents read, पता नहीं वो लोग क्या सोचेंगे. And it's a concern that really stays with me.
Yeah, she watches all of my stories, and one day I left without telling her that I'm going to Hyderabad, and I was updating my stories, and she was like, "Where are you going?" And I was like, "Okay, I'm going to a completely new city," without telling her. But obviously, she follows me, so she got to see the story. It gets
That's
me into trouble.
that's great that your mom gets your updates from your Instagram, like the rest of us. Um, but also I wanted to ask. So obviously you've also you put together your collection of art in a book called The Musings of a Muslim Hipster, and I also wanted to talk about a specific word you used, and I think. I mean, I don't know if you meant it to be specific, but it came out like that in your bio. Okay, when you say Muslim covered women, and you emphasize that in your art as well. The women you draw mostly wearing the hijab, and it's something that you choose to put out there in the world. Is there a specific reason that you do that, or is it because, oh, I wear it so I can represent the women in my art that way, or are you trying to send across a specific message to people?
My characters are mostly based on the women around me, meri khala, puppo, nani, dadi.
Hmm.
So this is how they dress. They always take a dupatta or they're wearing a hijab. Some of them take a niqab as well. So the women in my drawings, they are the women of my family. So this is why I draw them like that. And I said covered Muslim women because I know that there are multiple types of Muslim women, and I mean, they choose how to dress, and it's not like they dress in one specific way. So, yeah, I wanted to mention that they are covered Muslim women, but there are other types of Muslim women as well.
Right. And also in your the art that you share on your page as well, they're always women in action. You can see them doing different things. They're enjoying their life. How has that reaction been on your page so far? Have you received any fun messages about other women who've seen your art and they have been inspired to draw the same way or express themselves a little differently? Have you seen that type of impact with your page?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of young girls, they send me messages with uh, artwork like mine, and they're like, "You inspired us to draw like that," and because our media, I mean, it's such an irony that the entire population of Pakistan, most of them dress modestly, but we are not represented. I mean, we are not represented that way, not even in the TV or in the fashion industry. So, I mean, I feel like that with my art being on the social media, it kind of gives hope to other young artists who take dupatta, and they're like, okay, if she can draw a girl with a dupatta, and so can we. So I just feel like that it makes it easier for them to depict their own lives, depict their own selves in their art. And yeah, I do receive messages like that. Sometimes they're recreating my artwork or my poetry, and it makes me really, really happy.
I'm Yeah, I'm really happy to hear that as well. Um, the- so the interesting thing with you as a writer and a storyteller is that you sort of exist in different. You do written work in poetry, but you also do visual storytelling with your art as well, and that's something I want to touch upon with you as well. Is that you have a totally different realm of storytelling as well that you're engaged with constantly. What is your process like when it comes to the art you draw, the things that you make? What are the different, where does that inspiration come from? Like you said, it's usually the women in your family, but other than that, what are other things you sort of think of when you draw?
Yeah, I feel like I am divided into these two art forms. I read a
Hmm.
lot, and but then I like drawing as well. So I feel like, I mean, if given a chance, I would have loved to love words more, but वो अंदर से जो feeling आती है ना, वो drawing में ही आती है मुझे. I mean, I would love to read and I would love to write, मगर I feel like अंदर से जो मैं असली में artist हूँ, I'm an illustrator. I love digital art. So मैं कभी कभी थोड़ा torn हो जाती हूँ. So I try to mix that in my art journal. वो ये जो art journal का medium है, it makes it easier कि मैं drawing भी कर सकूँ, मैं words भी लिख सकूँ. उसके अंदर आप सब कुछ merge कर सकते हैं. अ, मेरे दो तीन फेवरेट आर्टिस्ट हैं जिनको देख के मैं बहुत ज़्यादा इंस्पायर होती हूँ, लाइक जेनी हॉल्जर. शी वर्क्स विद लैंग्वेज एंड वर्ड्स. So this is, I mean, she was the main reason why I started writing angry poetry, because I was like, if Jenny Halsey can do it, she can use such harsh words, such angry imagery through her words. So can I. So I feel like my favorite artists, they inspire me a lot. And then we have Aga Shahid Ali and Kaveh Akbar,
Hmm.
these people of color writing about their emotions. And so yeah, they inspire me a lot. I read a lot of Aga Shahid Ali. I read a lot of Faiz Ahmed Faiz. They inspire me a lot.
And what would you say? So, I mean, I've always believed that journaling, sort of having your thoughts in one place, whether it be written, visual, however, is very important. I think, well, as a person, though, definitely, but when you're someone who's creative, it's even more important. You need one place to sort of put down your ideas and your thoughts. For people who don't journal, or for people who maybe don't art journal, what and they want to get into it, what are some tips, or what are some things you would like to tell them? Okay, acha, this is how you can start, or just general things that you've learned as well through journaling.
I mean, whenever people think of journaling, they think of it as a very um, like a heavy duty that you have to buy a new journal, you have to buy all the new supplies, and it like a duty, and you have to do it every day. But I mean, I would love to, just show them that it's really easy. You can just pick up an old diary or even a book, just start putting old papers on it, start writing. I mean, this is why I love journaling. It's so flexible. You don't have to do anything special. You don't have to put a lot of efforts in it. You just have to write your heart out, draw your heart out. It's one place where you are not gonna be judged for your bad drawings or your bad poems. It's something that you just have to let out of yourself. So even if you want to start journaling and you have no idea, just pick up any old diary, because when I started journaling, I was using my old diary and it was not even blank page, it was lined page, and I would just
Mm,
paste things over it so nobody would know that it's not a blank page journal.
yeah. I think that's the most beautiful thing about it. And उसके कोई rules नहीं. You know, it's very
हाँ,
liberating
कोई
in that.
रूल नहीं, जो दिल में आ रहा है वो करें.
Uh, exactly. And do you feel like it helps you also then um, sort of channel your thoughts, filter them, and sort of make more sense of them? Does it help you do that? Is it therapeutic in that sense?
अच्छा, मेरी जो आर्ट स्कूल की डिग्री है, इट्स कम्युनिकेशन डिज़ाइन, इट्स नॉट फाइन आर्ट, सो आई एम नॉट टू गुड एट पेंटिंग. तो
Mhm.
आर्ट जर्नलिंग अभी तक, आई मीन आर्ट स्कूल शुरू होने के बाद भी, इट्स अ वेरी थेरेप्यूटिक एक्सपीरियंस फॉर मी, क्योंकि आई नो that I can draw anything in it, and even if I put it on my Instagram, nobody's going to say anything to me that your drawing is not good enough, or the structure that you drew is not good enough. So I feel like it's very therapeutic. Or अगर कोई कहे भी कि you made this mistake, I'm like, no, you can't tell me that because it's my journal. I can do whatever I want with it. So yeah, I mean, it's easy and it makes you happy.
Yeah. Also, just to sort of go back to your art as well, I think you uh, one thing I think most people online have definitely seen is your row as a bottle wala desi mental wali cheese, and it's something that I always laugh when I see because it's true. It's you see sort of these things happen online all the time, and I wanted to ask, and I think it's a question I always have on Instagram is how do you think of these, like it's such a serious topic, right? Male ego, fragile egos, all of these things. How do you then take that into something that people can laugh at while still maintaining the seriousness of it? Because it does leave you with, little thought.
Yeah, I mean, the the Pakistani society is pretty sexist, and I mean, I don't want to say it. I mean, I do want to victimize the women, but I mean, I grew up watching a lot of domestic abuse. I mean, it's everywhere. I mean, it's so deeply embedded in everybody that the women around me, they used kind they used humor and sarcasm to kind of relieve themselves of the pain they were going through. So I remember a lot of aunties that I used to meet during shadis or milad वगैरह, and they would be telling their sad stories, but obviously सब sad हो जाते थे. So they would throw this one quick joke, एक कोई ऐसी line,
Mm,
ताकि सबका मूड हल्का हो जाए. So I learned it from them कि चलो कोई बात नहीं, even if they are going through a lot of stuff, तो वो सारी खवातीन ग्रुप बना के जो बैठती थी, पहले साथ रोती थी, फिर then they would joke about it. So this was their way of taking things lightly. तो वहीं से मैंने सीखा कि they would make jokes about men and
mm,
how horrible they were, and then it would become such a funny thing. बाद में जाके I mean सबको याद आता होगा कि it's not that funny,
mm,
but I learned it from them. So I try to portray that in my art.
yeah. And that's something I think we've all sort of, at some level, all of us sort of make fun of a situation that bothers us. May
Yeah.
it be our mental health, may it be our relationships, whatever it is. We sort of do that, and I think that's something you reflect very nicely in your work. That ability to laugh at something which is serious, but in that moment you're like, I can't take it anymore, so I'm just going to laugh at it. And I think that's why a lot of people really also connect with the work you do as well, because you sort of make them think about things in a different way. Um, have you, and I know this might be a little, not controversial, not, it's not controversial, but it might be an uncomfortable question, but do you feel like, or have you had experiences where men on your Instagram have been either overwhelmingly negative or overwhelmingly positive towards your work? Like, have you had that experience that a man has come up to you and said, like, okay, that made me think, or that made me see things differently?
I don't think many men follow me, and surprisingly, they have left me alone with my art on Instagram. They don't message me. They don't usually contact me. So कभी ऐसा नहीं हुआ कि they bullied me or they sent me a message. I mean, I just feel like they don't want to do anything to do with me. तो
Mhm.
उन्होंने मुझे बिल्कुल अकेला छोड़ा हुआ है वो
That's
नहीं करते कुछ बात
perfect.
yeah it's
Perfect.
just women on my Instagram mostly so I'm thankful to
Mhm.
Desi men for leaving me alone at least on Instagram yeah
I think with our the way Instagram works is at least in our country is that all of these book and poetry pages they get mostly female attention. Kal I was randomly going over the insights for Basic Collective and it was like 90% women, 10% men. I was like, I mean, I'm glad I have a very engaged audience. And then I sort of laughed. I'm like, it makes sense. I mean, most of the people that I've talked to books about, most of the panelists as well that I've had, they've mostly been women because I think they sort of like to engage in these types of discussions more frequently uh, than our men.
maybe I don't know maybe it's my art maybe it's my fashion sense that keeps them away I don't know whatever it is I'm
Yeah,
grateful
thank God it's still that way. Um, but so also you even on your Instagram you sort of you're you're very proud woman, right? You have your your style sense, like you just mentioned. You have your art. You have everything that I mean. You've sort of nailed down everything that is essentially you. And what made you comfortable with sharing yourself in that sense? Now, like all the things that make you on the internet. Were you ever concerned? I mean, thankfully you haven't received much backlash, but were you ever concerned about that, or did you usually feel supported on
I really was not, but अभी recently एक ऐसा ही case आया था हमारे सामने that two girls from Lahore they were using my pictures and my twins' pictures and they were actually reaching out to other men and sending them pictures and taking their numbers and it was a huge ring. It involved at least 25 men at least. So we had to actually go to the cyber crime office और हमने एक file complaint कंप्लेन फाइल की हमने और फिर आई थिंक ये कोई चला है 2 महीने तक आई थिंक ये सीन चला था हमने इतने अकाउंट बैन करवाने की कोशिश की उनके बट वो हर थोड़े दिन बाद नए नाम से आ जाते थे तो आई मीन ये कभी नहीं हुआ था मेरे जहन में भी नहीं था कभी कि ये हो सकता है बट इट हैपन लाइक आई थिंक 1-1.5 महीना पहले so it was the first time ever that somebody did that
that?
so it's a
Uh,
scary place I mean
yeah,
you're putting yourself out there so,
sort of just to come back to poetry now. What are some? You said you like to read Aga Shahid Ali, Faiz Ahmed Faizab, and all of our people of color that sort of write in that. What are some particular pieces that really inspired you, and maybe could you tell us what really inspired, like what specifically about them really inspired you? Like maybe what's one piece of this you always go back to and you're like, wow, this is.
I mean, I love talking about Agha Shahid Ali. So his poem "Stationery" it's very tiny, but the last line, "The world is full of paper. Write to me." I mean, it speaks
Hmm.
to me every single time. दिल को मेरे लगता है कुछ हो जाएगा because I love when people write me letters or send me a message. So the line that the world is full of paper, write to me, it's like he wants someone to write to him so bad and he's like दुनिया में paper भरा हुआ है just write to me so that tiny poem it has changed my life forever and then we have farewell and the line that I'm everything you lost you will not forgive me so that hits like really really hard
Hmm.
and then we have Faiz Ahmed Faiz I mean उनकी जो वो poem है मुझसे पहली सी मोहब्बत मेरे महबूब नवांग वो तो like क्या चीज है वो poem I mean तकलीफ भी होती है but I also love it and then we have कुछ इश्क किया कुछ काम किया uh, so important and then we have I don't remember the name मगर उसकी वो last line मुझे याद है कि अब यहाँ कोई नहीं आएगा so that's very haunting too मतलब आगा शायद अली फैज अहमद फैज they were friends too मुझे पता चला था कि आगा शाहिद अली को ही परमिशन मिली थी फैज़ का काम ट्रांसलेट करने की. So I mean, this is something so important कि मेरे दो favorite writers, they were such good friends.
Hmm.
और I mean वो बेरूत में साथ होते थे. So I mean इसलिए मुझे लगता है उन दोनों connection भी है, and their work is beautiful and haunting at the same time.
And I mean, I think it's also very important कि अक्सर लोग जो usually they write, the people who usually write in English on Instagram, अक्सर होता है कि वो they usually engage with English writers, but you're someone who's always been very proud of your connection with Desi writers or with again people of color. Why, do you feel like that's an important distinction to make it? These are the people. Like, why do you feel like it's important to take pride in writers who are like us, sort of the same skin color, come from the same place?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like mostly जो white writers होते हैं उनके experience से मैं directly relate नहीं कर पाती हूँ. I mean, there are there are some amazing writers that I love. बहुत सारे ऐसे हैं. But I mean, जो वो deep connection होता है ना आपका एक writer के साथ, एक artist के साथ, you need to have that on a very personal level. वरना वो फीलिंग नहीं आती है आपको.
Mm,
मतलब जो फीलिंग मुझे आगा शाहिद अली से आएगी या जो फैज़ अहमद फैज़ से आएगी वो नहीं आ सकती मुझे और किसी राइटर से. नो मैटर वो कितने भी अच्छे हों, वो अपने लोगों के लिए अच्छे हो सकते हैं मगर मेरे लिए वो इतने अच्छे नहीं होंगे.
yeah,
या
that's
पर्सनल
definitely
कनेक्शन चाहिए होता है.
that's definitely something जो जिससे मैं agree करता हूँ क्योंकि बहुत लोग पूछते हैं कि ओ like I have a couple of friends who always ask me, why do you always read brown writers? And like, oh, because that's just my experience. I would much rather read that. Or इसलिए मतलब that's something I enjoy to read, and I'm glad. I'm always happy to see posts where people like you who sort of celebrate उस तरह की चीजें. Um,
या like Kaveh Akbar, he uses terms like the typical Shia terms होती हैं that we know about. So even if he's not Pakistani, but he is Persian and he uses that kind of terms that we know exist in even in our own world in Pakistan. So yeah, that's a fun connection to have with him.
hmm, so someone actually sent in a question for you as well on Instagram, and they want to know that how did you grow your profile as an artist? And I think this sort of means a couple of things. I think this means generally how is your art grown, and then also how were you able to sort of grow your own following through your art? If you feel like you can answer those two particular things.
And honestly, it hasn't been easy because I feel like Instagram doesn't really let an artist profile grow. I don't know if it's shadow banning or there's something with putting your art on Instagram. I feel like that it's not really easy to reach your audience.
Mhm.
But if you want to grow your art account, you have to put your most valuable art pieces on the internet, on the Instagram, so that people know your true potential. And even if Instagram is not letting you grow, your audience should be loyal enough. Yeah, they should be like supporting you. You need to find your community and you need to find your audience तो आपको help करेगी grow करने में. वरना Instagram as an app itself, it's not gonna be too helpful because I feel like they shadow ban artists more.
Mhm. Actually, yeah, that is one thing I wanted to talk about as well. That because so many people complain about Instagram, the algorithm का कोई मसला है, that they're not able to grow it. So, I mean, you have grown quite a large audience, but still, is that something you still face today that you feel not a backlash, but something that the Instagram app does?
हाँ ऑनेस्टली होता है. इंस्टाग्राम जो है जिसका लॉगरिथम है वो आपके फेस को ज़्यादा फेवर करता है. सो इफ यू पोस्टिंग योर फेस, इट्स डेफिनेटली गोइंग टू गेट यू मोर व्यूज एंड मोर ऑडियंस तक जाएगा वो. बट इफ यू पोस्ट योर आर्ट वर्क, उसकी रीच इतनी नहीं आ रही होती है. इंस्टाग्राम डजंट लेट इट गो बियॉन्ड अ सर्टेन नंबर ऑफ रीच या एंगेजमेंट. तो आई फील लाइक इंस्टाग्राम थोड़ा सप्रेस कर रहा है आर्टिस्ट को एंड इट मेक्स मी रियली रियली सैड क्योंकि आर्टवर्क बनाने में ज्यादा मेहनत लगती है देन टू टेक अ प्रिटी सेल्फी. वो इतनी देर
Mm,
में लगेगी.
definitely, and I think for some reason, I think each year we sort of keep learning new things. Can Instagram app पे ये चलता है, ये नहीं चलता है, and we find that maybe they're just not really helping people who are more creative in that sense. Uh, like you said, algorithm का कोई ना कोई issue आ जाता है.
Now, Instagram wants to buy the ad. So if you're posting your artwork, they want you to pay for it.
Yeah, so that's always something that uh,
Except,
yeah. And another person asked that, how are you so comfortable sharing your all of your emotions online? They're sort of asking in the sense that, mostly we see there's a lot of pressure to be happy online, to post your happiest, best version. Do you find it liberating to express all of your emotions, even if it is something like anger?
I feel like nobody can be happy all the time. I mean, it's too robotic to be happy all the time. So if you're a true human, you have to feel everything.
Yeah.
And I mean, you cannot put the happy version only on your Instagram. You have to let people know that it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to be sad or angry even. So I mean, it's not like people are only going to like you if you're happy all the time. It's just not human.
Um, yeah, I feel like we're almost getting towards the end of our own conversation, but I do want to ask you about, when we talk about, journaling, poetry, and Instagram, do you feel like, what are some things that you've learned from your journaling or from poetry, about yourself, and are those things that have helped you grow and sort of become a better artist in general?
Yeah, I feel like with my journal, I have realized that your art doesn't need to be perfect.
Mhm.
It just needs to exist and it needs to reach people. And you have no idea कि कौन से piece से आपके किस poem से किसी की कितनी help हो जाए. It's like every story matters, every bed drawing matters, every composition that you make, it matters. And आपको शायद अच्छी ना लगे, but किसी और के लिए it's gonna be the best artwork ever. So you just need to make more art and put it on Instagram. और उसकी वजह से मुझे इतनी opportunities मिली हैं, इतनी मुझे कुछ illustration जो मुझे बिल्कुल अपनी नहीं पसंद थी, I put them on my Instagram and people actually loved it and they wanted to buy prints of it. So I have no idea what works or what doesn't. So you just have to give it a try.
And I think that's
So I think it
really
made
great.
me a lot more braver with my artwork.
I think that's really great advice and a tip to sort of leave off on. Okay, just trust yourself and do what makes you feel happy.
Yeah.
So Areeba, if there's anything else you want to add in, you can definitely say it right now. Otherwise, I don't. Let me again recheck Facebook because I can't see any more questions. But if there's anything else you sort of want to sign off with, you can definitely do
Yeah, I mean, I will just tell all the young artists and writers just to keep doing your work. You have no idea what your work matters to other people. You just need to make more art and put it out there in the world, and you're gonna do great things. You just need to keep making art. So don't worry about it if it's not good enough for you, but just don't stop doing that. Yeah.
that. Great. Thank you so much, Areeba, for taking time out, and
Thank
I
you,
really
Harry.
hope you enjoyed on
Yeah,
the
I
podcast.
love talking to you.
Thank you so much, Areeba. Yeah.
Okay. Allah Hafiz.